Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. Today I'm going to mix some soil. I've had some questions about what soil mix I use. And I use two different mixes. I use a very organic potting soil mix I call landscape mix because I use some bulk soil that wholesale growers use. So if you buy a pot, a 3-gallon pot of a tree or a shrub, and you take that plant out of the pot, you'll see the soil is very rich, very dark, very organic, lots of bark. So I try to replicate that. I have 5 huge trees on my yard, 2 laurel oak, 2 live oak, and 1 maple. So what I do is I rake the leaves and then I put them into compost bins. I have 2 bins. One is old that I'm using and the other is newer that is still degrading. And I don't want it to turn to compost. I just want it to end up being dry. So this is the bulk mix, and sometimes you get kind of crazy stuff like that. This is just out of the compost. It's got a lot of sand, but you also see it has a lot of leaves. So what I do is I have 2 separate sifters. This is your traditional bonsai sifter. Typically they come in a set with 3 different removable screens, so you can pop this screen right out. And there's 1/4 inch, which is this, and then there's 1/8 inch, and then there's 1/16 inch. But then I also use an even smaller mesh, which is window screen, which I would say would be 1/32, that I made my own box. So it's just a simple process of grabbing some of the rough soil, and then I sift out the stuff that's going to fall through. I'm going to get rid of some of the crud, because there's always some crud, and then I push. Grind up the leaves and I push them through. And you're always left with some on top. So that goes into a separate bucket. And then I'll put this bucket that's full of the larger pieces onto the new compost heap that I'm not using yet. So then it's the same process. Another handful, another sifting. Take the palm of my hand and just push most of it through. Take the larger pieces, put it into that other bucket, and then this is probably the most important part, is this homemade job, because as you'll see, when we sift, you get a lot of fine material, and this stuff here, this fine material, is horrible for your plants, regardless of whether it's bonsai soil or this landscape mix. You want to get rid of this really fine stuff because it will clog the air spaces in your soil in no time at all. So then I take my really nice soil that I've now created and I put it into a separate container. And just to keep you from having to watch over and over, because it's pretty tedious, so I take this and pretty much just dump it around in the garden. Then I have my soil that I've just sifted. And so typically I'm sifting much more, but just to expedite the video, we're just going to do a smaller batch. And then I take a portion of some very inexpensive bag potting soil that you buy from the store, and I add a little bit of that, And then this is bulk landscape soil that most individuals just can't buy. This is the stuff when you buy a shrub or a tree at a nursery and you bring it home and you pull it out of the pot. This is what it's planted in. Wholesale growers buy this kind of soil in bulk, usually 25 yards, 30 yards, 50 yards, so that's just a gigantic amount. But since I was a landscaper for many years, I still have relationships with wholesale nurseries that will sell me small batches, so I'm kind of blessed that way. So then I add another little bit of that, and then just mix it up. I will also add a small amount of lime. I didn't bring it with, but lime, horticultural lime. You can buy two different types of lime that work in the garden. There's horticultural lime, and then there's, oh, what's the name of the other stuff? I forget. But it's basically the same stuff. That just keeps the pH up a little bit, because a very rich organic soil like this can drop the pH down quite a bit. So that's really about it. It really ends up being just very nice and rich, and it drains well, and it lasts, I would say, at least a year. Now this, sometimes I put trees in bonsai pots in this mix, but knowing that it's not going to last. Bonsai soil, which I'm going to show you in a completely separate video, is almost all rocks. It's almost all inorganic, very little organic matter. Drains super well, which is super important. Does not degrade and does not lose its airspace, which is also highly important. And it lasts for a long, long time. So this is how I mix up my soil. So all the plants that I have that I show you that are in like training, so like the parrot's beak in the ice cream containers, they all went into this soil. The parrot's beak that I just dug up from under the bench that went into strawberry containers, they went into this soil. I did a video on ever-bearing mulberries, cuttings that I put into 6-inch bulb pans. They went into the soil. So all my pre-bonsai goes into the soil. And then when I put it into a bonsai pot, I change my soil to the very rocky bonsai mix. So that's it for this video. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you can watch all my videos as I post them. I try to post one a day. We've had a lot of rain the past 2 to 3 days, so I've been unable to get a video out since I video outside. And leave a comment if you'd like. And once again, this is difficult for people to replicate, because do you have the 5 huge trees that you can rake the leaves? And do you have access to that commercial mix? And you may be able to go to some wholesale nurseries. There's some, usually they're out, way out of town, in agricultural land, less taxes and all the rest of that. You may be able to talk them into selling you small batches. But that's how I do it, and this really works well for me. So thank you so much for watching, and in the next couple of days I will be doing an example of my bonsai soil. And in the bonsai soil, when I'm using the mesh here, I use all 3 mesh sizes. So I sift through here, and then whatever lands, then I take it out, take this out, put the next smaller size, lift that back up, sift that, and so I end up with 3 grades of bonsai soil, each for 3 different size pots. But that's for another video. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.